Hello, so we are live and it's 2 p.m. Yes, 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 yes. If you are watching us for the first time, please let me see your comments in the comment section. And this is your first time logging in. This is our Tuesday live. We're usually here every Tuesday, live teaching on different aspects of parenting. You don't want to miss this, all right? So we're usually live right here on our YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining us and it's such a pleasure to have you here. Right? Please do let me know that you can hear me. All right? Please do let me know that you can hear me. Also, let me know that you can see me. And the moment you can confirm that, we will go ahead to start the conversation of the day. The conversation of the day is why your disciplinary strategy it's no longer working for your child. Do you know why? Why is it not working for your child anymore? All right. We're waiting for you to confirm that you can hear me. Good afternoon, Coach. Thank you so much. Took a while for us to get here, but it's fine. So it's good. So it means that we're good. Joining in from Brini Kebi. Thank you, Martha. Tell me where you're joining us live from, and also tell me if this is your first time. Put a hashtag right in the comment section and say first time joining you. I can see you, I can hear you. The moment you're able to confirm that, we're going to get going. All right. Thank you so much for joining us live. We're here every Tuesday, live teaching on different aspects of parenting. And today we're talking about discipline. One topic that I'm very extremely passionate about. All right. You want to actually be here and you want to invite your friends and your family. If you're just joining in, tell me where you are streaming live from. Tell me if you can hear me and if you can see me. We'll be glad to actually have a conversation with you. All right. Thank you so much for joining me today. Okay. So usually on Tuesdays at 2 p.m., we're here. Today I'm also streaming live from Abuja. Yeah. And today I'm streaming live from my home office. Okay. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Invite your family, your friends, and tell them that we're about to break some tables and replace them. We always replace those tables. All right. Because says this is my first time. This is really exciting. If this is your first time watching us, put a hashtag and say first time watching me. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate. Woo, we already have 30 persons on YouTube. Okay, so let's get rolling. My name is Wendy Ologe, and I'm the founder of the Intentional Parent Academy. I love to teach parents how to parent. I am of the opinion that parenting is a learned skill that you cannot parent effectively without learning how to parent. All right. And I can see that my mom is here. Hi, Mom. Thank you so much for joining me. Why your disciplinary strategy is no longer working for your child. Why your disciplinary strategy is no longer working for your child. Do you know why? Now, that's what we're going to be talking about. But before we even go into the conversation of the day, let me say this. So many times, all right, a lot of us actually think that when we talk about intentional parenting, that we're saying that you should not discipline your children. I don't know where we get that from, really. So anytime, there's something, you hear parents say, they said intentional parenting, we should not be talking to the children, we should not, anything they do, we should just allow them to do it. It's interesting how we actually interpreted that. But let me please say this. At the bedrock, at the base of intentional parenting is discipline. In fact, without being disciplined as a person, you cannot parent intentionally. Let me say that. Without being disciplined as a person, you cannot parent intentionally. It's almost impossible. Intentional parenting involves a lot of structure, a lot of discipline. Now, one of the biggest challenges we have is that we do not understand what discipline itself means. And I'm going to also be debunking a lot of those myths that we know about discipline today. Yes, I'm excited about this class because discipline is a core for me. Discipline is a core for me. So if you are anywhere, right, and you're thinking that intentional parenting says oh, don't discipline a child. You got that wrong. Intentional parenting is about discipline. Our problem is what discipline is. And this conversation today, we're going to start with what exactly is discipline. Abegeli, is because you don't understand what discipline is. Now, unfortunately, one of the problems that we have is that we think that discipline is about beating, is about yelling, is about screaming, is about all of the unpleasant things that you would need. That's not discipline. Now, discipline is not only good for children, but it's also necessary for their happiness and well-being. Your discipline should make your children happy. It should make it helps in developing them. So discipline is as vital for health, all right? Vital for health, for even as your food. Okay? Oh, yes. Okay. So when we talk about discipline, we're talking about discipline being important for love. So without discipline, children lack the necessary tools to navigate relationships, to navigate challenges in life, and like such, become self-disciplined. So they do not have respect for themselves and for others, and they don't also understand how to cooperate with their peers. Now, the kind of discipline we exhibit doesn't do this for our children. Instead, we're having children who are becoming more aggressive with relationships, children who lack self-discipline. I have seen a lot of people who say that they are disciplinarians, yet their children are so unruly. I hate unruly children. That's one of the worst things you can give me. A child who is unruly. And unfortunately, we are hitting children. We're doing all of these things that we call discipline, and we're having children who are unruly. Why? That should tell you that something is actually missing. Now, let's keep going on. Contrary to what parents actually think, children who are not regularly disciplined are actually not happy. Yup. In fact, failure to discipline children results in children who are unhappy, who are angry, who are resentful to those around them. A child who is not disciplined will be unpleasant company, and a child without discipline may find it difficult to make friends. Now, what exactly is discipline? That's where the real crux of the matter is. I was sharing something with a group of parents recently, and I was sharing how I have gotten to the stage on my journey where I don't need to do reminders for a lot of things. It's called building in structure in your system of parenting. So it's called being able to actually put a lot of things together to help your children think for themselves. If your discipline is not making your children think for themselves, there's something wrong with that disciplinary strategy. And for a while now, I've gotten to a point where I don't need to be coming back home and I'm screaming and calling, is there food? Is the room clean? No, I don't need to. Now that's discipline. I didn't achieve that by hitting and screaming. Because for you to achieve that, what you need to do is to build skills in your children. One of the worst things that can happen to a parent is raising an unskilled child. The moment your child is unskilled, you are going to struggle. And unfortunately, you won't just struggle alone, it will come back to you eventually. Now, these are the real issues. So, there are many reasons, why parents think that, parenting, discipline a child is that you need to, you need to do this and all of that. Some people have very unpleasant memories of being disciplined when they were children. And of course, because of that, they've not been able to understand what discipline really means. Now, let us put this in perspective. Discipline is not creating conflict with your child or lashing out in anger. Somebody help me write that in the comment section. Discipline is not about creating conflict with your child or lashing out in anger. I've seen many parents who have they don't have any guard on their emotions. They claim to be disciplinarians, but they are not. Their children are a mess. I have been in this business for a while to know. Yet there are parents who actually hit their children at the slightest error that they make. So building the skill of discipline is another thing. So discipline is not about creating conflict with your child or lashing out in anger. That's not discipline. When you do that, you actually miss the essence of being able to discipline anyone. Discipline, when done correctly, now there is something called the discipline that works. Discipline, when done correctly, is not about trying to control your child, but about showing them how to control their own behavior. Can we see the difference? Controlling your child is not discipline. Teaching your child how to control their behavior is discipline. Discipline is not about punishing your child for doing something wrong. Discipline is about setting clear parameters and consequences for breaking rules so they can learn how to discipline themselves. Let me tell you one of the things that I have seen when it comes to discipline. When parents tell you, so I read something on Instablog Niger. It was about a boy who is in his 20s and he had just sodomized a younger child. Then the parents of that younger child was mad, of course, and then took him to the police station. The parents of this older boy, who is in the university, comes to beg and they say, we have already beaten him. So therefore, please forgive him. That's our own style of discipline. A child does something. You hit the child. You pity the child and take away the consequences of the child, of that action that the child has actually exhibited. What do you think you've done when you do that? A child pours water on the ground. You give them a backhand and slap them. Then you pick up a mop and mop the water. How does that equate discipline? So when I read the story, this woman actually went, begged the woman that please, that he does not want the consequences of the boy's action to meet up with him. That she please just forgive him. She and the father have already flogged him very well because we think that flogging a child is actually discipline. And in the mind of this parent, they flog the child. A parent in our academy in the inner circle reached out to me, and one of the children had done something in school that required a consequence. And when she reached out to me, she said, Coach, I already know what you're going to say. The consequence for that behavior is a suspension. And I already told the school that my child is going to go on suspension. I'm not going to beg for any child. What we do is that we go back. Our children have done something in school. We go and beat them. We come back to the school and tell the school, we've already disciplined them. They've learned their lesson. That's not true. If the consequence of that action is that your child should go on a suspension for 2 weeks, your child going through that consequence is what real discipline is. Not that you're screaming and you're yelling and you're beating a child. Now, we see where the gaps are coming from. These are the real issues. So it's not about punishing the child for doing something wrong, really. It's about setting clear parameters and consequences for breaking rules. The aim of discipline is actually to be self-disciplined. Discipline is structure. Somebody help me write that. Discipline is structure. If you do not understand structure, routines, systems, principles, you are not disciplined. So a lot of the parents who say, I'm disciplined, I'm a disciplined parent, it makes me laugh. I don't hit my children, I don't scream everywhere, I don't need it. I only need to teach my children skills for them to actually be able to learn to be disciplined. And then I need to live it, which is more important. I remember that I was sharing about the twins turning 12. The twins turned 12 within the week. All right. And I was sharing about sitting in front seat. Not being able to take my children in the front seat, even when they had asked, and even when they had, can't we just say, that's what discipline is. My children never got to sit in front seat of the car until they turned 12. That is discipline. So my children understand that I'm going to leave my words. So my children see some things that some other children watch, and they're like, but that's not your age. Discipline is actually them looking at a screen and seeing that this content isn't for them, and they're not going to watch it. That's discipline. I've humorously said before that if you need to take away the cable, your cable smart card, because your children are home and you don't want them to watch certain channels, then there's a problem with it. I would rather teach my children what to do, create structures that will help them, than putting up a parenting control on my DSTV. I've never had one. Discipline. If you're patient enough and if you can listen to me critically, you will understand exactly what discipline is. When you teach discipline in the real sense of it, you will not struggle. But when you teach discipline in the haphazard sense of it, all this jumping, yelling, hitting, then you will miss it. Because the system that we have currently today doesn't even help. Discipline is a lot, much more than that scream you're screaming. Discipline is teaching your children skills and getting them to practice it on their own and to make choices themselves. It takes a lot of discipline, for me to have had the children in the past 2 years, and I haven't had to cook when they're home. And I've never been in a position where I got back home and there's no food. It takes a lot of training. It's not just in the things that you scream about. There is higher knowledge. The parents in the inner circle understand what I'm saying. And many times when I share some things, and I share it, and I usually say humorously that you don't get to hear everything that I say, even though you're listening to me, except for the parents who are in the inner circle. When your children are able to practicalize these things, skills on their own, make decisions, choices, that's what the real discipline is. If you didn't hear any other thing I said today, and the only thing you have heard me say today is what discipline is, you'll be good. Now, the problem is we hear these things, we think that that's where it ends. There are no tips and hacks in parenting. Parenting is a process. If you're not committed to it, you lose out on it. And the truth of the matter is that I'm never going to tell you, remove hitting your child without replacing it with something that works. If you have not learned what else to do, please do not remove anything, because life abhors vacuum. The first thing you need to do is to learn what to replace with. I've seen a lot of parents come back to me to say, oh, you said we should stop beating. I just read your post. I stopped beating my child, and now the child is now unruly. You didn't replace it with anything. That's why you don't know, because we read this post off on top of social media, and then we just make decisions. And I was having a conversation. I posted something that someone wrote on the community, and somebody said, I've read this thing now. Immediately I read it, I knew that my children are going to remain in Christian school forever. Is Christian school a ticket to raising your child better? It's not. You pick out a section of a post, and you decide that that's what you're going to build your parenting system on. Then you're going to lose out eventually. Because that's what all parenting is. Parenting is about systems. That's what parenting really is. And if you're able to put systems in place, there are some conversations I don't have. There are some troubles on parenting that I've never had, and I'm never going to have. It's the place of knowledge. The place of knowledge is a different ballgame. Trust me. So discipline when done correctly. One of the reasons your disciplinary strategy isn't working is that you don't understand discipline. That's one of the reasons. Parenting is about system. Even God is a God of systems. Even God is a God of systems. God puts in principles. I said that God is a God of terms and conditions. God puts in principles, systems to produce. Why do you think God does not have rope that is using to come and chase us everywhere? God requires that we actually build self-discipline not to do the things that are wrong. Doesn't that give us something to think about? A human being is created with a will. If you do not have systems in your parenting, forget it. All these tips, hacks that people share, and immediately that parent shared it, I'm going to remember my child. I said, that's not it. Choosing a school for your child requires systems. The child that your first child, the school that your first child went to, it's not necessarily the school that is good for your second child. Come on. Because children are different. The circumstances surrounding whatever it is that is happening is different. Without systems, children perish. Because parenting is embedded in systems, not tips and hacks. Without it, your child will perish. So you see all of these. I just want to pick here. Oh, somebody said I beat my child till they died. That's how they, and then you just pick it and run. You're going to destroy the system. The system is, so system means that it's a combination of many things. It's not, oh, we pick here, we pick there. And that's one of the reasons why I keep telling parents, stand up today to do this job. It's not about all this social media, you pick here, you pick here. In the past 2 weeks, everybody became a parent coach. Every single Nigerian. Dishing advice to you. You are picking it. You are taking it in. Thank God for the parents in the inner circle. A lot of them still came back and say, when I read some of those things, I laugh. There is higher knowledge. You need to begin to understand that parenting has gone beyond, just pick up from here, pick up from there. Parenting by trial and error is one of the worst things that can happen to you. Parenting with probability. The only way to actually build a system that works is parenting by intentionality. How intentional are you? How intentional are you? Parenting is not about tips and hacks. Parenting is about systems, structures, processes. What are the things that you do during the holiday? What are the things that you do when your children are around? What are the things that you do beyond the time they're not? What are the things that you do during school time? These are the systems. Let us roll. Why is your disciplinary strategy not working? Another reason why your disciplinary strategy doesn't work is that you don't understand your child. You don't understand your child. Because you're parenting by assumption, you do not understand that every human being is actually built differently. I hope you're getting value from this session. I want you to invite your friends, your family. Let us have this conversation together because this thing is very important. All right? Thank you very much. Thank you very much for being here. All right? I'm going to share also how to set foundations for good behavior, the threats, that discipline encourages, and, the disadvantages of the discipline that does not work. Who is that child? Have you tagged someone? Have you invited a friend? Have you invited a family? Tell them that we are having a conversation that is so valid today. You don't understand your child. That's why your discipline isn't working. You went to Mama Emeka's house. Mama Emeka told you that, immediately my son did this thing. I just gave him slap. And the moment I gave him that slap, his brain reset. You went home. You saw what your son is doing. You give him the slap. You put him the slap, bah, 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 and then Ade is still where he is because you are learning parenting. For the people who don't even understand what parenting means, you need to be careful. Intentional parenting follows the goal. Unintentional parenting follows the crowd. The crowd is telling you now, cheering you, giving you, telling you, it's a lie. That's what they said. This one and all of that. There's so much more to the conversations that you need to have today. You don't know who your child is. I was teaching in the Understanding Your Child's Learning Style class that we had recently, and I realized, and I was teaching parents how you don't discipline a kinesthetic learner the same way you discipline an auditory learner. Let me tell you what happened to us when we were growing up. A lot of our parents had the same, kind of parenting. In the inner circle, we call it achikote one parenting. The parents in the inner circle understand this term. It's called one size fits all parenting. Everybody, let's just do the same thing. And in that parenting, one of the things that happens is that as we're parenting the same way. We're parenting everybody. If you're Igbo, you understand it very well. You are parenting everybody. And what happened to our parents? It was probability. So they didn't understand the ability for every child, to actually be able to do things and differently. And when the results were life, we all have siblings who couldn't really do well. 3 people did well, 2 people are struggling. And then you hear the phrase, I have done everything I needed to do. Pikin will go good, go good. Nigerian palace. It means, because I know that some Nigerians are also, non-Nigerians are watching me. It means a child that will be useful. It doesn't matter what you do. And then we started propagating such a statement from a person who has been given a mandate to co-create with God. From a person who have been given a responsibility that is bigger than any other responsibility. The thing you will say, that's a failure on your side. That's a responsibility. That's you being irresponsible. When you begin to say, it's not my fault that the child turned out like this. It's not my fault. That's the kind of conversation you now begin to have. Are you kidding? You now begin to say, I didn't. If something is wrong with a child that you have raised, go back and check yourself. Go back and check yourself. Is a food for thought. When my children do things that are wrong, I go back and I recheck. I was sharing with the parents in the inner circle, in level 3, and we're reviewing the book Outliers. And we're sharing about being able to actually raise children who are not entitled. And I told them a story of what happened to me with our foster daughter and how I needed to actually look at, raising a child who can't thrive on the streets and be able to call myself to order and retrace my steps. It was me. It wasn't her. We must come to a place where we understand that whatever it is that happens to these children is you. The responsibility is on you. Parenting is actually giving you a mandate to co-create with God. No wonder people like Paul said, I'm not interested. Paul the apostle understood exactly what parenting is about. I don't think we do. The responsibility to raise a better person is in your hands. God found you worthy. That's why he gave you that mandate. And if you don't do it well, you answer. Why was Eli punished for the sake of the children? Why do you think so? Why wasn't the children that had to bear all of that? And for fathers, you need to understand that whenever there is an issue, even God holds the father, not just the mother, so that we understand all of that part. So we need to understand that is our responsibility. So stop saying, pikin will go good. It's your responsibility. On that day, when we answer to the Almighty, whether you believe in the Almighty or not, there is a system. the responsibility to raise another person better is in your hands. And when we get there, we're going to answer. You and I will answer. And you answer to the things that you have done differently, whether you are not doing well. So you're a co-creator. So when you say things like that's you abdicating your responsibility. That's you actually telling God that he's stupid by choosing you to actually raise that person. So if God was wise enough to give you a mandate, a mantle to raise a better person, and then you sit back and then you say, Piki will go good. It's not my fault if the child goes bad. Then you're actually cursing God if you do not know that. You don't understand your child. That's the reason why you are struggling with discipline. When God gives you a child, it's your duty to understand the template that God has given you to actually raise a better person. And if you do not have that mandate, if you don't have that curriculum, you don't have, where it is. That's why it says, train up a child in the way he should go. It's your duty. It didn't say God will train up a child. God doesn't train children. Don't kid yourself. God does not train children. Human beings do. So you need to actually get these things right. All this is God that will help us. Oh, it's God. God is not going to help you. I might be sounding a bit unspiritual, unreligious, but that's the truth. If God was going to help people, God should have helped Eli. Eli was a very good priest. God should have helped David. David was a beloved child of God. But yet he was not helped. That should tell you something. Or are you more loved than God loved David? Go and read those scriptures. You know that God really loved David in such a way that you can't even think of. You don't understand your child. Do you know who you're parenting? In the last two sessions we had in the inner circle, it was about who you were parenting. Who are you parenting? Or are you still saying, oh, this child, I don't understand this child. Oh, it's not my, all the other siblings are different. You're just talking flippantly. Someone that has been given a responsibility. You just open your mouth and just talk anyhow. Oh, I don't know. This child is different. Whatever he wants to do, let him do. I'm tired. Really? Really? You don't understand your child. That's why you're struggling with parenting. Number 3. Number 3. You think yelling, threatening, hitting is a disciplinary strategy. You think yelling, threatening, hitting is a disciplinary strategy. It's not, unfortunately. One of the reasons why your discipline is not working is that when you're done, then you would go back because these are quick fixes. I have always said that parents who actually hit are lazy parents because intentional parenting takes a lot of thinking. It's laziness to hit a child. Absolute laziness because you don't want to think. It takes more to think than to hit a child. Hitting a child is easy. Trust me. It's so easy to hit a child. All you need to do is spam. You don't need to think. Do you need to think to hit a child? Why? Intentional parenting takes a lot. Go and ask the parents in the inner circle, they will tell you. It takes a lot. Your brain is working 24 hours. So when we talk about intentional parenting, people actually say, oh no, all these things you're saying, it's not working. You said we should not beat the child. You're just lazy. That's why you don't want to think. And unfortunately, a lot of us were raised not to think. A lot of us were raised not to think. So it's easy. You're always looking for the easy way out. Yelling, hitting is an easy way out. I have a battalion in my home as at today. And I spent about 3 hours trying to teach a particular thing. Many of the times you also hit because you don't have the time. And unfortunately, time is the currency of destiny. Nobody shepherds a soul without time. Nobody disciples anybody without time. That's why discipline is about discipleship. If you want to understand discipline and you're a Christian, Go and read everything that Jesus did with the disciples. Every single one of it. That will give you, an inkling. There were times to teach and teach. Discipline actually comes from the Latin word discipline, and it means to teach. And discipleship comes from actually discipline. So for you to disciple, you actually need to understand what discipline is. How did Jesus disciple? Disciple. Yelling and hitting a child is cheap parenting. That's cheap parenting. Very cheap parenting. Cheap parenting is actually serious laziness to hit a child. You can't wake up. You can't wake up and say, oh, I don't even have time. Many of the times you're hitting a child because you don't have time to even think. You don't have time to think. So we have taken yelling, threatening, hitting as a disciplinary strategy. Meanwhile, it's not. That's why your discipline isn't working. I'm not usually where my children are, but anytime that they get in a place, one of the things that is said about them is how they are able, their responsibility quotient. Because I'm not going to be with them all the time. The question I ask myself is, if I use this disciplinary strategy for my child, when I'm not there, what will happen? Because somewhere in our head, we think that instilling fear in a child is what makes the child disciplined. Number 4, you are always yelling and they are not learning. When you yell, you shut down a part of the brain that learns. You shut down the part of the brain that learns. So the child is trying to actually help themselves understand. So you yell, the child is there, and just is it that you instill fear or you shut the child down? So the part of the brain that is supposed to be learning what it is that you're doing actually kills that ability. If there's something you want to do on your parenting journey, is to take out this yelling, shouting, beating. It doesn't serve you. You think it does, but it doesn't. I've been on two sides of the coin. So don't even think that this person is preaching from perfection. I've been on two sides of the coin, and I can tell you for free that this doesn't work. This doesn't work. If I tell you it doesn't work, I've had parents who have argued this conversation for 3 years. In fact, many parents have come back to me to come and say, Coach, I now understand what you've been saying. So I allow you to take your time to go through the process of understanding how you can actually begin to learn it. It's higher knowledge. That's what it is. It's serious higher knowledge. I used to think yelling works as well. When I started my parenting journey, I thought it was, the way, because that's what I saw my father do. My mom was never a yeller. So we need to understand that there is, a lot much more. There is a discipline that works. I'm even sharing from my book. I hope I even have a copy here. I think I do. From my book, The Discipline That Works. Part of what I'm sharing is from that book. And until I started to learn, and I've also written a book called From Yearling to Calm. Until I started to learn about some of these things, I didn't understand it. I didn't get it. You would actually think that you get it. No, you don't get it. That's the interesting part. I know in the face of ignorance, one of the problems with parenting ignorance is that it scars you and it scars your child for life. So ignorance is one of the most terrible. I've been there. So it's not like I'm abusing you. So I'm also talking about myself. So it's one of the most terrible things to do on parenting. When you parent, there's a template to raise kings. So Go and look at kings that are raised in the world. There's a template to raise kings. It's not the same. Slaves are raised differently. Kings are raised differently. And if you want to raise a king, then you want to get the template to raise a king. There's no error in how kings are raised. There's an intentionality that comes with raising kings. And one of our slogans in the inner circle is raising kings. The TIP slogan is actually raising kings. Because I know, I am of the opinion that there is a lot, much more. And I know I've done parenting for quite a while and I understand a whole lot. So when you're always yelling, your children are not learning. When you're always yelling, your children are not learning. You will think they're learning. There are many times when my son has done something and I actually want to really get upset. And I remember that there is more to do. Because I've been able to put a hold of my emotions, I'm actually able to step back and come back to it. And the child is able to hear me more. Like this morning, he did something yesterday. I didn't, say a word. And this morning I was like, don't you think that thing you did was actually a bit, not okay? Don't you think you would have done it this way and that way? And he looked at me and he said, actually, you're right. There are systems in parenting. There is a template for raising kings. And you need time to be able to shepherd any soul. And kings are raised differently. I don't think you see the prince, the child of the king in your community and you start screaming at them. I don't think if they send you the child of the current president of America to your home to help raise, you're going to raise them the same way you're raising your child. If that is not the case, then there's a problem with what you're doing currently. You need knowledge. And part of what I've been able to do is also to teach what it is that I have done. And part of it is that we're having the No Yelling Challenge. The No Yelling Challenge is part of where you can actually come and learn how to squash yelling and learn all the strategies. Don't listen to me and say, oh, she said we should stop yelling. And then you say, I've stopped yelling. I'm not talking again. When my child does something, I'm going to keep quiet. That's not a solution. That's not a strategy. Silence is not just a strategy. There's something that we call in discipline that works: silence and deliberate programming. You don't just keep silent. You deliberately program. You deliberately program. There is higher knowledge. It's not about all the things you read. I usually, humorously tell the parents in the inner circle that you don't find what we teach in the inner circle on Google. And yes, you don't. We teach you things that will blow your mind, that will make you think beyond what you're saying. So you can register for the No Yelling Challenge. That is really going to help you. If you're watching me on YouTube, you're going to see the details on the description. If you're watching me on Facebook, all you need to do is to put No Yelling, and the team will send you what you need to actually register for that event. It starts on the 2nd of May, and interestingly, the third early bird offer, which is 6,999, ends in 3 days. You want to take opportunity of that. Number 5, you don't understand strategies used for a child at each stage. Do you know that there are strategies you need at each stage of parenting? The way you raise children who are 1, it's not the same way you raise children who are 2. Nor is it the same way you raise children who are 10. We are constantly recreating strategies. And my husband and I recreated another strategy, a preteen strategy for the kids. And that strategy have changed as I speak to you, because we're getting into the space where we're raising a teenager again. We've raised a teenager before, but I tell you, because no two child is the same, we're creating 2 different strategies. I have a set of twins, yet we don't raise them the same way because they are 2 different people. And because there are strategies, because there are stages in parenting, I see you raising your teenager the way you're raising your toddler. I laugh. There is what to do. There is what to do. The idea is to raise you first. Stop looking for how to change your children. Parenting is not about changing the child. The first time you hear me say this, it doesn't sit well. Even the parents in the inner circle say it. They said the first time you hear parenting is about you, I'm like, what is this? What is she saying? After a while, you begin to recognize how parenting is actually about you and not your child. It is very, very important. I need you to understand that there are different things that you must do. Now, children who are disciplined, children will be deficient in important life skills if they are not disciplined. And some of the things that happen to children who are not disciplined is that they are more likely to engage, in negative behavior that are harmful and even potentially dangerous for themselves as well as others. They will eventually become unhappy. So all this you're screaming, you cannot discipline your children properly, they will become unhappy. They will be willful, selfish, and generally unpleasant. You don't want to have them. They will lack self-control. They will have social skill issues. A lot of the children that we are raising today have social skills issues. I was at the camp to teach. I was at the camp to teach preteens and teens, and I tell you, one of the disasters we're going to have is social skills disaster. Children who don't know how to make friends, they don't understand empathy, they don't understand patience, they don't understand knowing how to share, they don't understand nothing. What are the threats that the discipline that works encourages? When you are actually able to apply the discipline that works, your children are more responsible and they enjoy being good and helpful, to others, both at home, at work, in school, and the world at large. I see a lot of parents come to me complain, I've been beating my child, they are never helpful, they are very lazy. That is not discipline. That's why a child who is disciplined understands responsibility. Disciplining a child is actually building a child's responsibility. We call it the responsible quotient. There's something like that. The responsible quotient. It's not about your children passing exams. It's about you understanding how to actually help your children in the other forms of life. I was having a conversation with some of the teachers in my son's school, and they said something to me, and they said, we don't even know you, but one of the things we were able to pick out from your children is their responsibility quotient. That is what exactly makes up for a child who is disciplined. For a child who is disciplined. Another thing that happens is that they are more self-confident. I have said before that any disciplinary strategy that erodes the self-esteem of your child is a terrible disciplinary strategy. A child who is actually well disciplined have a better self-confidence. They know their opinions, their feeling will be heard, and that their parents love them even when they make mistakes. So any child that lacks, I've seen children, and a lot of the problems that we battle with is self-esteem. Children who cannot stand up to say no, children who cannot stand up to make friends. It was the same conversation we had in the camp just last week with children. They're not confident because your disciplinary strategy erodes self-concept. And if you are giving a disciplinary strategy that erodes self-concept, there's something wrong with that strategy, and you need to squash it. They are very unpleasant. They are very pleasant to be around. The children who are disciplined in the way that works. And they are also easier to make friends. They have more self-control and they are more self-sufficient. Their self-control is usually top-notch. They know that they are accountable. They are accountable for their mistakes or misbehaviors. And they are more likely to make good choices because they want to, not because they are afraid of your punishment. They're not the same. These children are more likely to actually make good choices because they want to. They understand why. I had a conversation with my son and I asked him, so how many friends do you have in school? And he said, I have just one friend. That's the only person I think actually will be able to make the right choices when it's between good and bad. What happened to the rest? Said, well, I don't think that my value system aligns with them. It's not because they are afraid that I'm going to punish them. No. It's because they understand that they are accountable for their mistakes and their whatever consequences is them. I am not that, when I see parents who want to take consequences away from a child, I laugh. Even God does not take away consequences from you. Some people come to ask me, so if the child begs, can you not supposed to just forgive the child? That's where the real problem is. That's where the real problem is. We actually think that when a child comes and say, oh, please forgive me, I'm sorry. Oh, then the consequences goes away. But that's not true. Even God doesn't take away the consequences of my action. If your children understand that the consequences are theirs, that you're not going to bear it, your child fails an exam, you go and pay for center and go and beg the teachers that they can help the child. Why are you bearing the consequences of a child's action? You are afraid. Many of us are afraid of our children failing. You're afraid. That's why when your child forgets something at home, in school, they've given them a project, you're afraid of them failing. You come from all the way from Mitama to wherever it is your house is, and you run and you go and carry the assignment and go back to school because you do not want your child to have any kind of failure or disappointment or even have any kind of struggle. The boy had really tried. Oh, the consequence of the child not being able to be responsible with his work is you that is bearing it. Your child has homework and your child hasn't finished doing the homework. The consequence of his action is for you to beat him and then you help him. How does that make sense to you? You beat your child, then you help the child because according to you, you don't want your child to fail because you need the bragging rights. Oh, yes. You want to tell people, my son came first in class. Like, really? You have 8-year-olds who can't study on their own and you think it's okay. You have 10-year-olds who can't stand up and say it's my responsibility to pass my exam because I have chosen to. You think it's your responsibility for your child to pass their exams. And yet you are claiming that you know how to discipline a child. How? Because you do not understand what it takes. You don't understand what discipline is about. You don't understand about choices and consequences. If my child needs to repeat, my child will repeat. You will see me share it. The other day was my friend's child who repeated a class, sometime in primary school. She shared it. It's Coach Etima. She shared it. And how the boy has now become the top in the class in Justice 2 currently. The child understood that, you know what? My parents are not going to take out it's not, I don't get it. I honestly do not. And yet you are a beating parent, you're a yelling parent, you're screaming up and down. And when they come out, when there's a conversation on social media, you come out and you say, we discipline our children and all this intentional parenting people are preaching. It's nonsense. Yet you are the one that don't understand discipline. Your child is the one that is not disciplined. No structure, no self-leadership, nothing. You're even afraid of leaving your child in a friend's house because you don't know what will happen. You're afraid of taking your child to a boarding school. You don't know what will happen. You're afraid. You're afraid because you haven't done what you're supposed to do. One of the things that you need to understand is that parenting has everything. You. And until you get it right, nothing changes, really. It's your job. It's your job. You need to understand that whatever it is that you sow, parenting is seed time and harvest. There's no time for the harvest. There is a time for the seed. I always say that if you fail to plant the time that you need to plant, there will be problems. Harvest is limitless. The question you want to ask yourself today is, what am I planting? We're saying learn, get into the academy. Oh, come and learn. It's as if we're practically, but I know what happened when all of the Chrisland saga happened and broke off. A lot of people ran kitty, kitty, kitty. Oh, coach, what will I do now? There's nothing to do now. Anybody that said they're going to give you a magic wand and then everything is going to just turn out to become perfect, it won't happen. Whatever it is that you sow today, that's what you will reap. Forget all of these things, all of this crassness you're jumping up and down. The report cards are here. They are here. They are here. We don't want to be intentional. We don't want to be held accountable. We want to hold our children accountable. You pay for study centers, you pay for WAEC, this thing, you pay for cheating. You go to a school and tell a parent to pass your child more. You go to fight while your child is not giving a particular score. Sometimes I'm wondering, what are you guys talking about? My daughter came back to me and complained on how her English teacher didn't mark a particular portion of her, plan. I couldn't convince her to actually do that marking. And I said, oh, well, it's your choice. A 12-year-old, I'll go to school to go and fight that kind of fight. Am I mad? Why? Because I'm afraid that the child is going to fail. The child should fail. Failure is part of the process. It's part of the process. What are you planting? What are you planting? What are you giving? What exactly are you doing? Are you just there still arguing whether parenting should be learned or not? Because I know that some people are still at that point where they are arguing. Sorry, because we're getting to a point. Somebody complained how she sent me a message like 5 times. I didn't answer and all of that. And I told the person, I said, I have a priority for the parents in the inner circle first. They are the parents that are very distinct. So, of course, I needed to sort them out in this period because there was a lot of things happening. And so don't be too angry. We'll answer you at the time. The point is, you need to understand that parenting is not something you pick up at the middle of your place, all right? At the middle of your place and just fly off. Parenting is a process. Parenting is a process. Parenting is not about tips and hacks. Parenting is about the systems. Somebody is asking if the academy is open for registration. You can book a slot to wait for the Inner Circle program for December 1st, 2022. The good news is you get to get a slot. The bad news is you are not sure of getting a slot if you don't book a slot. Because we currently have over 1,000 parents and we can't take everybody. Unfortunately, we can't. I'm only one person. All right. So very important. And you can start, even I know that quite a number of parents are on the waiting list of our Inner Circle program. You can start by registering for the No Yearling Challenge. I've already said that the No Yearling Challenge is available, and it's pinned. If you're watching me on Facebook, it's pinned, and you can register using the details. Whenever it is that is, we talk about knowledge. To pay for knowledge. Parents just come out and you see this guy. Must we pay for it and all of that? It's fine. Pay for ignorance. There's always a price. And there is a price to pay for ignorance. When something happens and there is a price and there's something that you will pay the price. So I usually say to parents that it's either you do the time now or you do it later. Either ways, you do the time. The choice is yours. I've seen a lot of parents who thought that they knew what they were doing. Now we got it all figured out and all of that. And when they get into the inner circle, they are humbled. The inner circle will humble you, no matter what it is you think you know. That's the truth. No matter what it is that you think you know. If you want to book a slot for the inner circle, you can just put inner circle right in the comment section if you're watching on Facebook, and my team will reach out to you for the details. It's not free. The inner circle is not free. This is the free class. You can enjoy it. But what we teach in the inner circle, sorry, it's not free. If you're serious about your parenting, then you would put in work and get in there. If you're watching me on YouTube, you can simply take the number that is scrolling on there and send us a chat to be part of the inner circle for the next cohort that is coming up on the 1st of December 2023. Some people have been waiting till since December last year. If you don't get to, get in, you wait for 1 year, and it's fine. We're not in a hurry to get you. Once you miss that cohort, we don't get you in. Somebody once told me that I'm supposed to be running this inner circle, keep it open around the year so that people can get in. That's not true. You can't get in the middle of the year. It's a curriculum, it's a system. We don't take in people in the middle of the year. We only take in people at the beginning of the sessions, which is the 1st of December. So the earlier you book your slot, the better for you. All right. If you want to book a slot for the inner circle, please look at the number. If you're watching me on YouTube, look at the number that is scrolling, and please look at that details and send us a chat. If you want to register for the No Yearling Challenge, please check the description. Check the description of the comments. All right, check the description in the what's it called, in the YouTube channel, on the YouTube channel, or check our Telegram channel. We'll send you details of how you can book for the inner circle. Somebody said, Coach, you look too serious today. Am I looking serious? No, I think just the topic. Chidima said, buy the truth and sell it not. Wisdom and instruction and understanding. Yes, those are the scriptures. Buy the truth and sell it not. If you're interested in the truth, buy it. If you're not interested, it's fine. You can also have all of the access and all of that. All right. If you want to be part of the inner circle, please simply send us a chat. I'm sure you must have our contact if you're watching us. If you don't, look at the description of the YouTube channel and then get to it. All right. Parenting is a process. And for all of you who really want to join the inner circle, it's not business as usual. It's not a place. And Augustine, you can just help me type the inner circle details on Telegram, and you'll be able to get all of those details. And the inner circle is also not a place where we play. I come out here and it looks like a play and all of that. Parents inner circle will tell you that it's business, because I believe that parenting is business. The family is serious business. If I fail on my family part of my journey, then I have failed in every other. That's the way I say it. I remember listening to Mandela at his deathbed, and he said one of his greatest regrets was not actually being able to shepherd his family, because it takes time to shepherd any destiny, because time is the currency of destiny. Time is the currency of destiny. If you have enjoyed anything that we have done here, this is just the tip of the iceberg to what it is that we really do in the academy. All right, I will be. All right, I will be very glad to welcome you in the inner circle process. Last year, people said we didn't talk about the inner circle a lot. So this year we decided we're going to talk about the inner circle throughout the year. So nobody was going to come on the 1st of December and say, oh, I didn't hear when you were talking about it. Oh, I did not hear. Because that was what happened last year. And they said we were being mean about taking money. We're not allowing people to get in. Unfortunately, we will not allow you to get in if you're not able to register by the 1st. And we mean it. You will not get in. You wait. All right, till the end of. So we're taking the time to talk about the inner circle throughout the year, so that you will not say you didn't hear us, because you hear us. Because a lot of parents in the inner circle said that the inner circle was under advertised. We didn't talk about it so much. We didn't share a lot. So we decided we're taking a lot. Share with us what was your biggest quote for today as you were in this session. Remember that parenting is actually real big time business. All right, parenting takes time. Time is the currency of destiny. If you're going to shepherd any destiny, you need time to do that. If you're going to shepherd any destiny, you need knowledge to do that. All right, it is not possible to raise kings with a template of a slave, because there is a template there is a template to raising kings. And then again, it's either you do the time now or do it later. Either ways, you do the time. Because there is a time to do. Because time is important. Time is important. And unfortunately, one of the things I have learned on this journey is that growth, when it comes to growth, change is noiseless. As your children are growing every day, there is a noise. It doesn't mix. It doesn't. There is no. There's nothing that changes really. It doesn't. You don't wake up in the morning and see that your child has grown taller. It's noiseless. That's why you wake up one day and you see that your daughter is 15 and cannot cook nothing, and you start running kitty kitty because what? It is noiseless change, and your children are changing every second. Every second that you sleep on this journey called parenting, something changes in the life of your child, and your child isn't waiting for you. That's the interesting part. And as that is happening, every minute, every second, there is a change. And before you know it, that's it. Change is noiseless. When a woman gets pregnant, you don't know, you don't see it. There's no noise. There's no noise at all. And gradually, you see it manifest. So if you're not careful, you will never even know that there's actually a change happening in your home every second. So while you're on the run of, I will register later, I will learn these things later, your child is changing every day, every second, and things are going wrong. Again, remember, the parenting ignorance can scar both you and your child forever, and there might be no turning back. Take a decision today to start your journey now. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for joining me every time, every Tuesday at 2 p.m. And my name remains Wendy Onogi. The parents in the inner circle, some of them call me VC. Some of them call me Mama Cathedral, whatever that means. Some of them call me Sergeant Major. Anyhow, it suits them. That's how they name me the name. And some of them actually will call me Baba General. Some will say agent of change, whatever it is that comes to their mind. You know what? Whatever it is that comes to their mind just comes to their mind. All right. If you're having a challenge, somebody's asking, talking about the challenge of joining inner circle. The inner circle cuts across. We have foreigners in the inner circle who are not Nigerians. We have Americans. All right. So people live all over the world, and they are able to get it right in the inner circle. Yes, Auntie Adekule calls me Prof. This is one of the names that I've acquired over the years. And yes, thank you so much for trusting me to do this with you. Thank you so much. I see you guys. I see you, Yaders. Yes, some of them call me Apostle. Some of them call me the parenting pastor. Some call me Apostle of Parenting. I have absorbed all of the names, and trust me, I love every single one of them. Thank you so much, and shout out to all the Yadas. You guys are awesome. I see you. I see you. I see every single one of you here every minute. Taiwa Kinwade, Christina, Dr. Happiness, Ella, Hannah. I see you guys. I see you every time. Eunice, level 1, 2, 3 of the inner circle parents. You guys are awesome. Thank you for being here. And then to all the people who are also not in the inner circle, who join me every Tuesday, shout out to you. I see how you are putting in a lot of work on your journey. I see you guys. Thank you so much for joining me again and again. And I hope that this session was actually meaningful to you. All right. Hope Mama Cathedral came with extra tables. Yes, and I hope I gave you extra tables after breaking some of them. All right. Yes, we have Canadians, United Kingdom, South Africans. We have all the parents from all over the world. Thank you so much, Ify, for reiterating that. We have parents from all over the world. You miss nothing. All right. If you're right there. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. I really do appreciate you. See you in the academy if you're not already there. All right, and see you next Tuesday.